committed.
Questions and comments? Member from Vancouver Quadra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciated the words of my colleague from Nanaimo Cowichan. Spoke very eloquently about the way this bill really the limiting of judicial discretion is a principle that she doesn't support. That the Aboriginal overrepresentation is something she's concerned about. So this bill is not going to. It will not deter crime. There is no evidence that it will deter crime and deter or reduce that Aboriginal overrepresentation. And then we heard her colleague make the point that that this represents a different vision than the NDP party's vision with respect to prevention and with respect to the social determinants of crime. So given that the NDP is planning to support this to go to committee, I'm just one, and that essentially means an agreement to the principle of the bill, though some changes are being asked for. I'd like to know from the member, what are the principles, the basic foundational principles of this bill that she is in agreement with, that she would vote for it to go to committee?
Member from Nanaimo Cowichan, 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member from Vancouver Quadra for those comments and for the kind comments. I think that in the context of a principle of recognizing that it is important to look at how victims are impacted and to look at how we can support victims and their families, that's the kind of principle that New Democrats have often spoken up for and in support of, and have encouraged this government to invest more in programs and services for victims and their families. I would suggest that there's probably not many people in this House that in some way or other have not been touched by somebody who has had a crime committed. And sometimes it's been a break and enter, and sometimes it's been something far more serious. And I think most of us, our hearts go out to those families. And we know that the pain and suffering that they have to go through in order to recover from whatever has been committed for them and their families is a very, very serious question. And so one of the things that we need to do when we're talking about this is not you know, a black and white question. This is, how do we support victims and their families, and how do we prevent people from getting into the criminal justice system to begin with? If we bring those two things together, I think we will probably have a much more holistic approach to the criminal justice system.
Resuming debate, member from Bonavista, Gander, Grand Falls.
Member for Vancouver Quadra.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the City of Vancouver released their analysis showing that the cutting of the Kitsilano Coast Guard base, the busiest one in Canada, will put people's lives at risk. But perhaps the Conservatives don't think it's their job to worry about those people, and that's why they're trying to pass the buck. But the City of Vancouver cannot pick up the slack in that service gap. And that's why our Mayor has asked for a meeting with the Prime Minister to explain to him why this is a bad decision and must be reversed. Will the Prime Minister meet with the Mayor, and if so, when?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've indicated many times, the first and foremost concern of the Canadian Coast Guard is the safety of mariners. The Coast Guard is confident that the changes proposed to search and rescue network in Vancouver, they have been completed. There will be no negative impact on our ability to respond quickly and effectively to distress incidents on the water. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Coast Guard has held a series of roundtable working group meetings in Vancouver over the summer to ensure a smooth transition to the new system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I know